Hello, my crafty friend, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's treasure journal flip through video. I am so excited to share this one because she turned out exactly how I intended her to. Interestingly enough, this journal started out not as a journal, but as an ephemera holder. And it was inspired by a really beautiful piece of happy mail sent from the mysterious and talented and enigmatic Angie. So if you are as big of a paper nerd and as into the aesthetics of old French ephemera and vintage laces and things like that as I am, and judging by the fact that you are here on YouTube watching this video, I'm sure you've already heard of Angie's Happy Mail. It's on a little bit French. Rhonda shares it a lot. Practice Makes Pretty, Penny and Rose, or Ruby and Pearl, or maybe one or the other or both. I forget which. But anyway, Angie is just this incredibly talented crafter out there, and for personal reasons, I don't really know what they are, but she has decided not to have any social media at all. So she doesn't have an Instagram account or a YouTube account, but she does sometimes bless creators with happy mails. And if this is sounding familiar, but you haven't heard of Angie, I think it's very similar to my beautiful, talented, abundantly generous friend May from Saudi Arabia. She's kind of similar in that she will lavish some of us with beautiful happy mails that we can share. And I actually have some pieces that I think I'll do a flip through of next week that are from May. But she chooses not to have her own social medias. And it's kind of interesting. I think it must be quite liberating for ladies like them to be able to just create and have fun with their materials and give them to people who they know will appreciate them without the stress or the hassle of uploading and editing and titling, tagging, describing, etc. But I digress. So this particular journal started out after I watched one of, I think it was Rhonda's. I'll find the video and I'll put a link to it in the video description. She did a share of some happy mail from Angie, and actually she recreated one of the pieces that Angie made for her. And it was a tri-fold ephemera holder made from a piece of ledger. And I thought, gee, I'd love to do that. And so I made my own version, and actually, the more I got crafting, it turned into a full-on journal. So enough blab, let me get right into it. The cover is adorned with this really beautiful vintage clip-on earring with an Aurora Borealis crystal beaded flower. This was a gift from my Auntie Mary Lynn, so thank you, Mary Lynn, if you're watching. And the closure I tied up with a little piece of fabric that came off of a larger piece of fabric in my most recent Happy Mail from May. It was actually off of the same piece of fabric that this pretty sheer overlay on the back came from. I'm stepping away from the camera because I thought I should just show you. Look at this gorgeous fabric that May sent me. I love it. It's covered in these really beautiful taupe flowers with sequins and ruffles. And I actually pulled on one of the ruffles and it came off quite cleanly. So that became the closure. And yeah, this top piece came from the very talented and lovely Kimberly. And I mention her a lot because I use a lot of the goodies she sends me. Her Instagram is called Tugs at Your Heart, and she makes gorgeous things too. But anyway, I decided to glue it down just around the edges so that the stunning Austrian handwriting on the ledger can still be seen. And this is from a piece of ledger from Angelica in Austria. So many pretty things. This is a piece of original ephemera that I bought from Petit Papier Shop. It's from 1961, and it's just so beautiful. The staining is all original. I didn't do any inking or coffee dyeing on that. That's just how it is. Worn and distressed by, yeah, the hands of time instead of the hands of a crafter in this case. So yeah, I love how that kind of peeks out under this lace piece. And then flipping it open, I did just a really simple bit of coffee dyed lace as a pocket here. And this is all still that one piece of ledger from Angelica. Like, it lent itself so perfectly to this project. I might have to make one of these for myself too. I just love it so much. I love how this turned out. We're lucky to have crafters like Angie out there who send their happy mails, and people like Rhonda who do their flip throughs so that we can look at it and make our own. So yeah, this is just a print I made on cardstock of actually this exact document that I'm using as my background. Pardon my, there's what's hidden under my pretty background are the paper edges that I've snipped off prior to filming. But anyway, yeah, I love how this turned out. And on the other side, I photocopied this beautiful thing. It's like a transparency. I think it must be like a photo negative, of an old photo negative. It has interesting markings and bits of tape, and somebody actually wrote something on it. I'm not sure what it says, but that actually arrived in my mailbox today, this morning. And it's funny because I was thinking, I wish I had just one beautiful picture of a woman to put in this journal to complete it. And then there she was in my latest package from Petit Papier Shop. And so, yeah, I will scan this image and include it in one of my future printable kits. But I love how her necklace looks to me kind of like it's made out of the same kind of crystals as these ones here. I'm not quite sure what it is, but yeah, I love this. So for those who love having people's pictures in their journals, it could sit like that. Oops. With that little bit there so that when you open it, you see her. I kind of prefer just having the handwriting and that sort of stuff. So it's a matter of personal preference. This is just a fun little scrappy booklet-y thing that I made by stapling together some paper that May coffee dyed that I embossed. So there's a little lock and a little key. I just thought that looked cute, tucked up over that corner. And then on this side, which is like the front pocket flipped over, this, oh, I just adore it. If you watched my last video for the journal I made called Peacock Couture, that's like filled with different peacocks with fashionable elements, you might recognize these little baggy pocket things. This time, instead of making books to put in them, I printed out a set of these old French cheques. These are in the same printable kit. I should mention there's a new printable kit this week, as there is most weeks. It includes the French document here, the same one that's here. Lots and lots of French documents, and every single French check that you're going to see in this flip through, plus other pieces that I'll point out as we go. But anyway, I considered cutting these down so that they would fit the frame and making them into little booklets, but then I thought I'd kind of prefer to keep them intact just because they're so cool to look at. They copied really nicely. I copied these onto just regular printer paper and backed it with some ledger. I backed each one with different things. But anyway, as I was getting ready to put them into their little pockets, I noticed an interesting name, Michel Jackson, which is French, the French equivalent of Michael Jackson. So that's kind of fun. And then I thought, as far as, you know, family synchronicities go, it's kind of interesting that in another frame, we have the name of his daughter, Paris. But anyway, this Michel Jackson, of course, lived like a century before. So I won't pull all of them out because they're a little difficult to get in and out while I'm filming. But if I wasn't filming, it would be easy enough to just pull them out and put them back in again. But anyway, yeah, so this I glued down just completely, this bottom flap, and then glued the edges of the document here and here to be a little pocket. And behind these little baggies, I stuck in some artificial flowers just to add some texture and some prettiness. So this little twine wrapped bundle is also inspired by another one of the Angie Happy Mails out there in YouTube land. So this is another one of the French cheques that are in this kit. This one is backed just with some kind of sage green colored blank writing paper, also in the printable kit. And this is an old French book page with an old French stamp, all genuine. And inside, I did like a lace sampler page by taking some pattern paper in this gorgeous, gorgeous green color and kind of crinkling it up and then using a glue stick, sticking it to the back of the book page. So it's just, to me, it's just magical how a little bit of glue and really, really simple materials can create something that, in my opinion, it's just so stunning. So because the paper had a little white strip here, I almost scrapped this piece and then cut a new piece out of the center of the pattern that would be just green. But then I remembered I had a little sample of antique sequined lace, sequin and little seed pearl. At least I found it at a local antique shop in a pouch marked antique lace. It could just be vintage. It kind of looks 1940s to me, but anyway, I thought if I put the white and beige laces on the green and then put the green one on the white in the middle here, it would just kind of pop, and I think it does. So anyway, a couple of these are absolutely, definitely handmade. This one and these two. This one I think of as a macaroni trim. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but doesn't that just look like some little macaroni noodles all in a strand? But yeah, I just glued these down using Fabri-Tac. And then the one in the center, this also came from my local antique shop called Grandma's Antiques. I glued the top and the bottom, and then it became kind of like a secret tuck spot. I don't know, some of you might be keen-eyed observers and you saw this slid into there, but I think the green on this envelope is close to matching that green, so it's kind of hidden. Beautiful handwriting on this old French envelope. This is genuine. And inside, I made just a fun little faux deed inspired sort of strip booklet using another one of the French cheques and some random old French ephemera pages. So 1966. What's fun about this, even though it's typed, not handwritten, it's typed on a typewriter. And so the letters are indented, like you can feel them. They embossed the paper. So pretty. And then this is another one of the prints from my new printable kit. It's so, so pretty. And then this is also a strip of one of the scanned documents in a sage green color. That's also in the kit. So yeah, I think the joy of junk journals for me, oh yeah, this gets folded. That's why I'm not being able to fit it back in again. There we go. For me, like, part of the joy of junk journals is I've always been attracted to old paper and old documents. I remember when I was a little girl, maybe about 10 years old, back in the 90s when kids could still roam free, and I took my allowance money to just down the block to a little antique store that opened like very, very close to me. Maybe like I had to cross one street, but that's all. And for $5, I bought a little Ziploc baggie full of ephemera. And I didn't even know the word ephemera at the time. It was like old receipts and things like that from the 1960s. And I thought I had struck gold. Like, I was just so excited to look at all those things. And it felt so historic. What's really funny now that I look back is that the 60s to the 90s is about the same difference as the 90s to now. So I can imagine like a little 10-year-old of this decade walking to an antique store and buying a package of like our receipts from, like, what would it be, the Gap, Shoppers Drug Mart, Safeway, and thinking that it was ancient treasure. But it's funny, I took that little package back home and was excitedly going through all the papers, and for some reason going through those papers made me feel like a grown-up because it was the kind of thing kids didn't have back then. And then my mom looked at what I was holding and said, you know, what's that bag of garbage? And I said, I bought it from the antique store. And she said, oh, you wasted your money. And so I'm laughing now, but every time I get a package of old paper ephemera from France or from eBay, I think of my mom saying, oh, what's that bag of garbage? But you know what? Us junk journal enthusiasts, we get it. It's not garbage. It's like a time capsule. Being able to read what somebody purchased or the details that they documented so many years ago. And even just looking at the old fonts and the old typography decorations, like, to me, it's magical. But anyway, I made just a little clustered collection of cool paper bits here. So I started with, I think of it as a peacock tail, but it's probably more like a placemat. Coffee dyed piece of paper that May from Saudi Arabia made for me. It's so beautiful. I used a pin just to pin a couple of little pretty pieces of fabric onto it. I love this green with the polka dots, subtle polka dots. And this is from a sari that I had. And then here's more paper from May with kind of a cool lace roses motif. And then I just got layering. This was in my package that I had ordered that arrived today. So it just barely made it into the bundle. It's like a music paper, but printed on like a yellowy vellum kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. I can't scan these to sell because they're too new. I think it's from the 1960s, but really, really cool stuff. So whoever gets this journal, they can either keep it all as it is, like a little collection, or they can use these pieces for collaging. Love the shade of blue ink on that stamp. Paris, Paris 1908. Just so cool. That's another of the printable checks. And then this is just the front piece of an envelope, but with beautiful stamps. Look at the Moulin, the windmill, and the beautiful lady. So pretty. So yeah, I love, with this one, I kind of gave myself the freedom to use both genuine old things as well as printable things. Speaking of printables, this beautiful Lalique brooch is in a different printable kit in my shop. I think it's just called Lalique Brooches. But that's a piece that I hand painted. And so if you see the dimension in her wings and in her tail, I did that using 3D dimensional fabric paint. And then I went back in with shades of gold and white and blue and purple, and mixed my colors to get the beiges and tried to like recreate a Lalique brooch. And I made 6 of them that I just fussy cut this one, printed on linen paper. But yeah, that just all sits in here. And this is another little piece of that rose paper that May Coffee dyed, and this little stamp is from my French postal printable kit. Yeah, I just, this is my happy place right here. Like the way this folio looks when it's all opened up and you can see all the papers and all the textures. And so here we go. This page here, I'll take these things out to show you kind of how I made this. I folded over a book page and then glued it down just on the top and the bottom and also in the middle. And that created 2 pockets. So in one of them, I put this really pretty periwinkle blue piece of handmade paper from India. This was a gift from the lovely and talented Cat Stone. And then over that, I put probably my favorite of the printable French checks, just because I love blue. Blue is my favorite color. And this particular shade of blue, it's just so, so pretty. And again, like, we just don't have things decorated like this these days. We can get vivid, bright colors and stuff, but I feel like graphic design back then was just on a whole other level. Oh yeah, and kind of blank on the back. So there is writing space for those who like to actually write in their junk journals. I've come to accept the fact that for me, I think I just like collecting paper. Let me know, what's your junk journal MO? Like, do you fill it up with cool stuff just to have the cool stuff, or do you actually write, draw, collage, and use your journals? I started out with the full intention of actually writing in them, and then I've reached a point where it's more like I just like to have the stuff, the paper. So yeah, this piece is really special. This is from 1769, and this is an actual piece of that genuine paper. You can kind of see it's watermarked too, which is really cool. I bought 3 sheets of this from Sarah at Petite Papier Shop, and I find I'm more likely to use my original materials when I have more than one of them. Okay, so here, another really gorgeous vintage clip-on earring. They're both so pretty, aren't they? In fact, you could wear these. They're not an exact matched pair, but I could see going out with one of these on one ear and one on the other. And they didn't come in pairs. I got each one as a one-off. This one came with some junk jewelry I ordered off eBay. And I've hoarded it and hoarded it and hoarded it. And then I finally decided it's okay. I have a brooch in kind of similar colors to this. And so I felt like I was ready to part with it. But yeah, I think this might be my favorite piece of ephemera in this bunch. So the envelope is actually printed on tracing paper. It's the long skinny envelope in my French postal printable kit. And then I folded it up and glued it down kind of like a baggie so that this long skinny journal could fit inside it. And yeah, this is fun. So this piece is a printed on linen paper, digitized version of the most crumbling, falling apart old French document that I have in my collection. What's funny is that this is from 1762, and then like this paper here is from 1769. So these two papers, both authentic, both from France, from the same decade in the 1700s. And look at the difference between the one that was saved and preserved in a ledger book versus the one that was exposed to the elements. So it's kind of cool. But anyway, when I got this, I was thinking that because it's so crumbling and so falling apart, I would just rip pieces off of it to use in journals and in collages. And then, as tends to happen, I just couldn't bring myself to do it because it's just so cool. Like the way this page is folded up, there's like an original wax seal piece stuck in the pocket. Like you can kind of still see what the seal stamp used to be. And I reminded myself, you know, I am a grown-ass woman and I spent my own damn money on this thing. And there's no law that says I have to tear it to pieces and use it in collages. And so I basically gave myself permission to hoard. And so, yeah, I'm allowed to just keep it. So I've kept it for the last few months. And I will continue to keep it. I'm working on kind of a gift to self that's not really a junk journal, but more like just a big book to store my hoarded treasures like this in. But anyway, where the bookworms had eaten away at the paper, creating this like window that gets smaller and smaller and smaller, I had the idea to just recreate that and create a printable. And so I had it like scanned professionally and properly, which is this here that can be cut out and used like a book cover, where the colors and the details came out properly, as you can see. But also, I scanned it using my iPhone, which is a new thing I learned thanks to my Auntie Mary Lynn, where you go into the Notes app and there's like a scan feature. And that's what I made this out of. So I cut them out, and then using an X-Acto knife, I cut out the bookworm eaten bits. And then here's where it gets fun. I also created little bookworms to go in the back to look like smiling through the window, like they actually ate their windows away on purpose. So yeah, this sheet, arranged as it is also in my new French ledger printable kit, along with these two bookworms. And there are, I think, 6 or 7 bookworms in total. So like it would look different if this one were put in the back. So cute, right? But anyway, I'm super excited with how this turns out. I feel like when I decide to keep a page as part of my personal collection or hoard, depending on how you want to think of it, I feel like I need to justify it by also making it into a printable somehow. And this one just turned out so cool. The ink stains and Yeah, and then I backed it just with a print of a different old French ledger. Something a little bit more plain. So yeah, I kind of tore some of the edges and tried to make it look as grungy and old as possible and inked it. And instead of stapling it, I tied it with string, the way the old French documents are actually tied. And yeah, I just love, 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 love this. So I put it, so this is another one of May's beautiful hand-dyed papers. And I just kind of glued that here so that this can sit there with the rose showing through the window. And yeah, the cover of this little scrappy book, it's also, oops, one of the printables in that printable kit. You can see it. Let's see. So yeah, I did 2 per page, and this is the back. That's this side. So on the other side, oops, when you open it, you see this. And just because I like to do things a little extra for fun, instead of throwing them away, I saved all the little centers that I cut out with the X-Acto knife. And to me, I thought they looked like seashells. Now that I'm looking again, they kind of look like little ears, especially this one, but just fun. You can write on the backs of the ones that are blank. Some have ledger writing already, but I just think that's cute. A little collection of word seashells. So anyway, this is some handwritten French music paper. Just as a little flip out. So cute. Étude en Ré majeur. So study in Ré major. As in do, re, do, re, mi. And yeah, there's just some green paper I coffee dyed, some ledger that I coffee dyed. Very simple little notebook. But yeah, I love that. I hope I'm not over explaining all of these little things. I always set out with the goal of making my videos about half an hour. And then when I pass the 30-minute mark, I always think, uh-oh, what have I been saying? But thank you so much to those who left such sweet comments on the last video. I think I said something similar to this in that one too, and I had some really nice comments from people who appreciate the longer videos. So yeah, just to make this page stronger, because I sewed the belly band down, this little blue string is actually antique from the 1800s, also from Petite Papier Shop. So to make the paper a little bit stronger to hold the string, I just glued down another piece of French paper. This is another 1600s French document that I printed on linen paper, backed with another one. Both of these in my new printable kit. I love the fleur-de-lis on that one. And then to attach it to another page to add into here, I just glued down some lace on the edge. Another one of the French checks from the printable kit, and yet another of the French checks from the printable kit. Really great shades of purple on that one. Backed with that French blank writing paper that's also in the kit. The way I folded this page over to create the pocket, there was like a little tiny little pockety bit that I hope I didn't accidentally glue these in. Well, they're glued in permanently. It is what it is. Little strips of scrappy paper that I figured the owner of the journal could write little notes on. And then in the other side, in this pocket, I put an original pink receipt. Would look really cute in a collage, and it's from 1959. And then in this little pocket page, that's just another French book page folded in. I did, whoops, one more of those French receipts. This was the back of one of them, but it looked so cool with all the official stamps that I felt like it's worth scanning and including. Some original French book page. This beautiful page is from a French missal of the life of Joan of Arc, and it just has stunning, like, stained glass window designs throughout the book. That's probably my favorite page. Look at that chapel and the stars and an angel appearing to her. Just so, so pretty. Some old French music paper. This is an old mathematics book page from the 1870s from Angelica in Austria. Guys, I'm very close to finally being finished my Happy Mail return to her. She sent me so many goodies over the last couple of years. And I'm finally nearly ready with the thing I'm sending her. I will do a flip through so you can see when it's ready. But that font is just outstanding. So this is half of the flap of an envelope from my blue printable kit. I did like a blue background paper, that's this one, and then like a blue letter writing paper with kind of an Art Nouveau inspiration. Another one of the printed checks. This was a leftover snippet of the same kind of paper the cover is made of, although the cover is one entire full sheet. This came from a piece I used in a different project. Old French book page. And then finally, over at the center of the book, this is a genuine French receipt from 1961. I love the Lady Liberty stamps. It's a good reminder that New York's Statue of Liberty was a gift from France. And in France, it's like a symbol of their country, which is so cool. On the other side of it, I made a tuck spot using just the beautiful stamp from a French document. That's also in this printable kit. In the printable kit, like, you can print out the entire document that I scanned. And I also did like just a cropped version of this. So I set my printer to print a sheet of 16 of them. And that's the size it came out. So anyway, these are just the other sides of those most recent pages. And I thought it would be cute to kind of just hold them down to give a clustered effect. So this is another 1800s French book page. And I love the staining on this. Like, it looks like somebody took splatter ink and deliberately did that. But nope, that is by original work of art by Mother Nature and Father Time. So yeah, here's the other side of that envelope. I think I did a video, I made this envelope on camera if you go through my tutorial videos. But into there, I took another piece of original French ephemera and just made a little mini pockety thing. And I stuck a few extras of that print. I inked the edges, I rounded the corners of one of them. So yeah, fun little extra goodies to share. The other side of that mathematics book that has a really cute, not cute, it's serious business mathematics, but a very fun little diagram. Okay, so here is one of the extra little flowers from that pretty fabric from May. A little bit more of her coffee dyed paper. And I just folded and clipped that onto this music page and used some coffee dyed paper that I made and an extra French book page and just made like a little scrappy booklet within the booklet. Just kind of bound it in using the pamphlet stitch. So that's kind of fun too. For those who like to write in their journals, there is really quite a bit of writing space in this one. The other scenes from Joan of Arc's life. Jeanne d'Arc. Halfway through saying Joan of Arc, I tried to say Jeanne d'Arc and it came out a little bit funny, but riding into victory and sadly being burned at the stake. Gorgeous paper. She is a great example of a woman who was not believed until it was too late, but then was kind of redeemed posthumously. On a brighter note, this piece of French ephemera is kind of funny. It's like a worksheet, and the student received a B. So I noticed that after I tucked it in, that's kind of funny. Hopefully this journal gets a better grade than the ephemera tucked into it. So yeah, here's another pocket page made just from like a folded old piece of French paper. I glued more of that patterned paper and then stuck one of my all-time favorite postage stamps onto it. This is original, but there are scanned versions in my French postal kit, but just a gorgeous 1960s image of a French fairy tale castle. This is a wine label that I found out thrifting that shows the goddess Diana, and I love, love, love the crescent moon on her head. It's so pretty. That's another, oh, the Queen of Spades. If you're playing hearts, you'll want to get rid of her, but if not, isn't she beautiful? Just some vintage plain cards with that beautiful kind of marbled backing. And I held this together using another vintage clip-on earring with that pretty mother of pearl. I love using those instead of paper clips. Just some stunning, stunning coffee-dyed paper from May. When she first sent me some coffee-dyed paper, I absolutely hoarded it and used it very sparingly, but she's gifted me so much over the last couple of years that I feel much more free to use it. The other side of that pretty, oh, maybe this one's my favorite. I know I said another one was my favorite, but just look at that stunning piece of detail. The back of that document page. You can see again how I glued the lace onto it to make it flip. Just some collaged up pretty papers and a little strip of fabric with the tiniest little flower print. And at last, we're at the back. So I made a little pocket here using some vintage, really beautiful vintage blue wallpaper border. And I tucked a little sample of pink, blue, and yellow. It's kind of a dark, cloudy day here, so I don't know if the colors are fully visible, but really pretty wallpaper sample from 1928. And I just love this page. So I had a piece of this pretty blue with gold flex paper from Kimberly, and I realized it almost exactly covered this text block if I added in that wallpaper strip. So I put it down, and then I added a fussy cut bluebird of happiness, which I love putting in my journals. And so yeah, that's kind of a little surprise bluebird of happiness on the last page. Hidden behind this gorgeous old French book page. Just look at this border. I think that's a paintbrush. Could be something different, but so pretty. And then we have adorable little cherubs in either corner. I'm going to scan a page from this book so that whoever wants to print it out and have that border can have it too. That's definitely a mirror and a fan. So gorgeous. And the words amour historique, which means historic loves. So pretty. Oh yeah, and I guess I should show this. The wagon, the mountains. I like the border better than the actual illustration on the page. But yeah, that just slips into there. And yeah, the very center pocket I decorated with this strip of stamps from my French postal printable kit. Added one more. Oh, just so gorgeous. The graphic on this page. Hand-dyed coffee paper from May. Both sides of it are stunning. Like the back side with kind of like a light impression of the same image. Just so, so pretty. Then another piece of this music page. Let me show you. Whoever gets this book, the other half of this music page I'm going to include with the birthday present that I'm sending for May. Her birthday is in November. And so, yeah, this was one sheet, but I decided to pull off her name because, yeah, Mayambo or Mayambo doesn't really mean much to us, but having her name on it I think is really cool. So anyway, that just sits in there. And then this really beautiful old French envelope, an original. This has a couple more little ephemera bits, some purple typewritten page, purple ink I should say, not the page itself. And this beautiful old postcard with like a garden scene. Constantinople. Interesting. So this is actually a view of in Turkey, back when it was still called Constantinople. Very, very pretty. I have a good friend who's about to go on a trip there. And it's killing me that I forget the name, the modern name. Not Constantinople, but I can think of like the landmarks there, like the Hagia Sophia. The moment I turn off the camera, it'll just land in my head and I'll think, how could I have forgotten that name? But yeah, there we have it. I really, really love this collection of random old papers from different eras and different parts of mainly France, but also some from Austria. It's just, yeah, like I said, this is my happy place, seeing layers and layers of papers, mostly yellowed with age, some reprinted, but a lot of original. And yeah, I hope you love it as much as I do. So as usual, this journal comes with a ring. And for this one, I kind of went through my stash and picked one that was actually vintage, with just a very simple look so that it wouldn't clash with the journal. And that's this one here. I think it's so pretty. It's like a little flower made in gold-plated metal. And it has like a little, whoops, a little faux crystal, faux diamond thing that's topped with another little faux jewel. And I think it's just adorably pretty. And it has kind of the same vibe as the other stuff in this journal. I just realized you don't even have to tie a bow. You could leave this fabric like that and it is just as pretty. Oops, and I forgot something. I like to put everything back where it belongs when I finish a video. There. Now it's ready to be folded back up. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I do. I hope I didn't talk too long or over-explain. Hopefully you got some inspiration for your own crafting. If you want to claim this as your own, she is available in my Etsy shop as of the time that I published the video. And if you'd like to make something similar for yourself, if you're curious about what I watched when I made it, I will put a link to, to the video. I'm pretty sure it was Rhonda at A Little Bit French, where she showed the original that Angie sent her, and then her variation, and then this is like a copy of a copy of a copy. My version of her version of Angie's beautiful piece. So yeah, and I think that's just how inspiration works in our crafty community, isn't it? Somebody will make something and then somebody else will see it and think, aha, I can do that. And then, yeah, we all just have a chain reaction of beautiful, wonderful things. So yeah, thank you so very much for watching this whole thing. And, oops, I'll make sure that doesn't get squished there. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please let me know how you feel about it. And yeah, just wishing you happy crafting, so much love, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.